The Zetharian Empire ruled over 200 star systems. Their ships were fast. Their weapons were deadly. Their soldiers wore armor that could stop most bullets. For 3,000 years, they had never lost a war. Commander Vex stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the small blue planet below. Earth. The humans called it home. He had read the reports about these strange creatures. They were weak. They had no natural armor, no claws, no venom, just soft skin and fragile bones. What did they use to fight? Vex asked his second officer. The officer pulled up images on the screen. They call them guns, Commander. Simple chemical propulsion weapons. They throw small metal pieces at their enemies. Vex laughed. The sound echoed through the bridge. Other officers joined in. Chemical weapons? The Zetharians had stopped using such primitive tools 1,000 years ago. Their plasma rifles could melt through solid steel. Their energy shields could stop anything the humans had. Show me their war machines, Vex commanded. More images appeared. Trucks, helicopters, jets. And then something that made the entire bridge crew burst into laughter. A large metal box on tracks. It had a long tube sticking out from the front. What is that thing? Vex asked, wiping tears from his eyes. They call it a tank, Commander. An Abrams tank. It moves on those tracks you see. The tube shoots large metal shells. It runs on something called diesel fuel. Very primitive. Vex could not believe it. These humans actually drove around in metal boxes, and they thought this would help them in war. His own soldiers had personal flight packs. They could move at incredible speeds. They could jump over buildings. And these humans crawled around in slow metal boxes. How fast does it move? Vex asked. About 40 of their miles per hour on flat ground, Commander. Much slower on rough terrain. The bridge erupted in laughter again. Vex's soldiers could run faster than that. Their smallest scout vehicles could fly at 300 miles per hour. These human tanks were jokes. What about their armor? Vex asked, still smiling. The reports say it is very thick, Commander, but it is just metal. Our plasma weapons will cut through it like paper. Vex nodded. He had seen enough. These humans would surrender quickly. They would see the Zetharian fleet in orbit and know they had no chance. Then the Empire would add Earth to its collection of conquered worlds. The humans would work in the mines. They would serve the Empire. It was how things always went. Send them our message, Vex ordered. Tell them to surrender now. If they do, we will be merciful. If they fight, we will destroy them. The communications officer sent the message. They waited. 5 minutes passed. 10 minutes. Then the response came. A human appeared on the screen. He wore a green uniform with many colored ribbons on his chest. His hair was gray. His face was hard. He looked directly at Vex with cold blue eyes. I am General Martinez of the United Earth Defense Force, the human said. His voice was calm. We have received your demand. Our answer is no. Earth will never surrender. Vex was surprised. He had expected fear. He had expected begging. Instead, this human showed no emotion at all. You cannot win, Vex said. We have conquered 200 worlds. We have never lost a battle. Your weapons are primitive. Your soldiers are weak. Surrender now and we will spare your lives. General Martinez smiled. It was not a friendly smile. You are right about one thing, Commander. You have never faced an enemy like us before. You have conquered worlds that gave up easily. You have fought species that did not know war like we do. Humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years. We know war. We are good at it. You fight with chemical weapons, Vex shouted. You crawl around in metal boxes. What do you know about modern warfare? Come down and find out, General Martinez said. Then the screen went black. Vex stared at the empty screen. The bridge was silent now. No one was laughing. The human's words had been confident. Too confident. It made Vex uncomfortable. Scan their military positions, Vex ordered. The tactical officer worked quickly. Images appeared showing human bases around the planet. Thousands of soldiers. Hundreds of those metal box tanks. Aircraft carriers in the oceans. Fighter jets in the air. They are preparing for battle, Commander, the tactical officer reported. All of their military forces are on high alert. Vex studied the images. The humans had spread out their forces. They were protecting their cities. They were ready to fight. It was almost admirable, almost. Very well, Vex said. If they want war, we will give them war. Prepare the invasion force. We will land at their largest military base. We will destroy their weapons. We will show them the power of the Zetharian Empire. The officers rushed to follow his orders. Ships began to move into position. Soldiers prepared their weapons. Drop ships loaded with troops and vehicles. Vex watched it all from his bridge. He felt a small doubt in his mind. The human general had seemed so sure. So calm. Why? What did he know that Vex did not? Vex pushed the thought away. It did not matter. The Zetharians had better technology, better weapons, better armor. These humans with their primitive tanks would learn a hard lesson. They would learn that the Empire always won. The invasion would begin at dawn. Vex would personally lead his troops to the surface. He would watch those metal box tanks burn. He would accept the human surrender himself. He smiled again. This would be easy. It always was. The sun rose over Fort Carson military base in Colorado. Captain Sarah Chen stood in the turret of her Abrams tank watching the sky. She could see the alien ships up there, small dots of light that moved against the stars. All units, this is command. The radio crackled. Enemy dropships entering atmosphere. EDA 15 minutes. All crews to battle stations. Sarah dropped into the tank and sealed the hatch above her. Inside, her crew was ready. Sergeant Jackson sat in the driver's seat. Corporal Davis was the gunner. Private Martinez loaded the shells. They had trained together for 3 years. They knew their jobs. "Start her up, Jackson," Sarah ordered. The massive turbine engine roared to life. 70 tons of American steel and composite armor hummed with power. The tank's computer systems came online. Targeting screens glowed green. The main gun elevated slightly, ready to fire. Around them, 40 more Abrams tanks started their engines. The ground shook with the sound. Infantry units took positions behind concrete barriers. Apache helicopters lifted off from the airfield. F-35 fighters screamed overhead. "They are coming in fast," Davis said, watching his scope. "I count 50 dropships. Big ones." Sarah looked at her own display. The alien ships were large, twice the size of a C-130 cargo plane. They glowed with some kind of energy field. They moved in a tight formation, heading straight for the base. "Hold your fire until they land," Command ordered over the radio. "Let them get out of their ships. We want them on the ground." The alien ships came closer. Sarah could hear them now. A high-pitched whine that hurt her ears. They did not slow down much. They hit the ground hard in the open field north of the base. Dust and dirt flew everywhere. The ship's ramps dropped. Alien soldiers poured out. They wore dark armor that seemed to shimmer in the light. They carried weapons that looked like rifles but glowed with blue energy. There were hundreds of them. Maybe 1,000. Behind the soldiers came their vehicles. They floated above the ground on some kind of anti-gravity technology. They were sleek and fast. Each one had weapons mounted on top. Commander Vex stepped off his command ship. He looked at the human base in the distance. He could see their primitive tanks lined up. Metal boxes on tracks, just as the reports had said. They looked old. They looked slow. "This would be over quickly. Forward," Vex commanded. "Destroy their weapons. Show them the power of the Empire." The Zetharian soldiers charged. Their armor let them run fast, faster than any human could run. Their hovering vehicles raced ahead even faster. They fired their plasma weapons as they advanced. Blue bolts of energy streaked through the air. "Here they come," Sarah shouted. "Gunner, target the lead vehicle." "Load sabot." Martinez slammed a depleted uranium sabot round into the breech. The gun's autoloader sealed it in place. Davis put his eye to his scope and locked onto the nearest alien vehicle. "Identified," Davis called out. "Fire!" Sarah ordered. The Abrams main gun fired with a deafening boom. The 120mm smoothbore cannon kicked back with enormous force. The sabot round left the barrel at 5,000 feet per second. It was a dart of incredibly dense metal moving faster than most people could imagine. The round hit the alien vehicle in less than a second. The vehicle's energy shield flickered for a moment. Then the sabot punched through. The vehicle exploded in a ball of fire. Pieces flew in every direction. "Hit!" Davis yelled. "Target destroyed!" "Good shooting." "Next target," Sarah ordered. All along the line, the other Abrams tanks opened fire. Thunder rolled across the battlefield. Alien vehicles exploded one after another. The Zetharians had never seen anything like it. Their shields could stop energy weapons, but these human guns fired solid metal at incredible speeds. The physics were different. "The shields could not adapt fast enough. What is happening?" Vex shouted into his radio. "Why are our shields failing?" "The human weapons are kinetic, Commander. one of his officers replied.
They use physical projectiles.
Our shields are designed for energy weapons. Vex could not believe it. The humans' primitive weapons were working? How was this possible? Infantry, take cover and advance, Vex ordered. Use the craters for protection. Get close to their metal boxes. The Zetharian soldiers scattered. They dove behind rocks and into shell craters. They began firing their plasma rifles at the human tanks. Blue energy bolts splashed against the Abrams armor. The advanced composite armor barely noticed. The plasma bolts left scorch marks but did not penetrate. Sarah watched the aliens try to damage her tank. Their weapons looked impressive. The blue energy made big flashes when it hit, but her tank's armor was designed to stop much worse. It had layers of steel ceramics and depleted uranium. The alien energy weapons could not get through. They are trying to flank us on the left, Jackson reported. Sarah swung her turret around. A group of alien soldiers was running fast, trying to get around the tank line. They were fast, she had to admit, but not fast enough. Coke's left side, Sarah ordered. Davis switched to the coaxial machine gun mounted next to the main cannon. The M240 machine gun opened up with a steady roar. 7.62 NATO rounds tore through the air at 800 rounds per minute. The alien soldiers' personal shields flickered and failed. The bullets punched through their armor. They fell and did not get up. More infantry moving up the center, Davis called out. All tanks load he. Command ordered over the radio. Let's clear this field. Martinez loaded a high explosive round. 41 other Abrams tanks did the same. Then they all fired together. The HE rounds exploded among the alien infantry. Shrapnel and fire tore through their ranks. The Zetharians had never experienced artillery like this. Their shields could not stop the thousands of metal fragments moving in all directions. Vex watched in horror as his forces were torn apart. Half of his vehicles were burning. His infantry was pinned down. The human tanks just sat there firing again and again. They did not need to move. They did not need to advance. They just destroyed everything that came near them. Fall back, Vex ordered. Return to the ships. We need to rethink our strategy. The surviving Zetharian soldiers ran back toward their dropships. The human tanks kept firing. More aliens fell. More vehicles exploded. By the time the dropships lifted off and escaped back to orbit, Vex had lost more than half his invasion force. On the ground, Sarah's crew cheered. They had won the first battle, but Sarah knew this was just the beginning. The aliens would come back. They would come back angry. Commander Vex stood in his flagship's war room. His officers sat around a large table. No one was laughing now. No one was smiling. They had all watched the battle recordings. They had all seen their forces destroyed by the human metal boxes. Explain this to me, Vex said quietly. His voice was cold. Explain how primitive chemical weapons defeated our advanced technology. The chief scientist stood up. He was an old Zetharian with gray skin and tired eyes. Commander, the human weapons use kinetic energy. They fire solid projectiles at extreme velocities. Our energy shields are tuned to disperse plasma and laser weapons. They were never designed to stop physical objects moving at such speeds. Can we adapt our shields? Vex asked. Not quickly, Commander. It would take weeks to reprogram them. Maybe months. Vex slammed his fist on the table. We do not have months. The High Command expects us to conquer this planet in days. The tactical officer spoke up. Commander, I have studied the human tanks. They are powerful, yes, but they have weaknesses. They are slow. They need fuel. They cannot climb steep hills. And most importantly, they need to see their targets to shoot them. Vex leaned forward. What are you suggesting? We attack at night, Commander. We use our stealth technology. We get close before they can shoot. Once we are near, their big guns cannot target us. Then our infantry can destroy them up close. Vex thought about this. It made sense. The human tanks were dangerous at long range. But up close, his soldiers could plant charges on them. They could break inside. They could win. Prepare the assault, Vex ordered. We attack tonight. Send everything we have. I want those metal boxes destroyed. That night, Captain Chen's tank crew tried to rest. They knew the aliens would come back. The question was when and how. Sarah sat in the commander's seat, drinking coffee and watching her thermal scope. The night was quiet. Too quiet. Contact, Davis suddenly shouted. Multiple targets bearing 270. Sarah looked at her display. Dozens of heat signatures were moving toward them. The aliens were coming in fast and low. Their stealth technology made them hard to see, but the Abrams thermal imaging picked up their heat. All units, enemy contact west side. Sarah reported on the radio. Multiple infantry, closing fast. The Abrams turret whirred as it turned toward the threat. Davis locked onto the lead targets. The night vision system painted them in shades of green and white. Sarah could see them clearly now. Alien soldiers sprinting across the open ground. They were only 300 yards away. 200. 100, fire, Sarah ordered. The Koch's machine gun roared to life. Tracer rounds lit up the night. The alien soldiers' shields flickered as bullets hit them, but these shields were stronger than before. The aliens had upgraded them. They kept coming, 50 yards, 25 yards. They were right on top of the tank now. Sarah heard metal clanging as the aliens jumped onto the hull. They were trying to plant explosives. They were trying to break through the hatches. They are on us, Jackson yelled. I can feel them on the hull. Sarah grabbed her radio. All infantry, we have aliens on our tanks. We need support now. The infantry units had been waiting for this. American soldiers poured out of their positions. They fired their rifles at the aliens on the tanks. M4 carbines chattered in the darkness. Grenades exploded. The aliens on the tank hull tried to return fire, but they were caught in the open. One alien managed to place a charge on Sarah's tank. It exploded with a bright flash. The tank rocked slightly. Alarms went off inside, but when the smoke cleared, the armor held. There was a black mark on the side, but no penetration. We are okay, Sarah reported. Armor held. All across the battlefield, the same scene played out. The aliens got close. They placed their charges, but the Abrams tank's armor was too thick. The charges left marks and dents, but they could not break through. Meanwhile, the human infantry cut down the aliens who were exposed on the tank hulls. Vex watched from orbit and felt rage building inside him. His night attack was failing. His soldiers were dying. Those cursed metal boxes just would not die. Send in the heavy walkers, Vex ordered. If explosives will not work, we will crush them. New dropships descended. They carried the Zetharian Empire's heaviest weapons, battle walkers, each one 30 feet tall. They had thick armor and massive guns. They walked on 4 legs like giant metal spiders. There were 10 of them. The walkers landed and immediately opened fire. Their plasma cannons were much larger than the infantry weapons. The blue energy bolts were huge. They hit the Abrams tanks with tremendous force. Some of the lighter vehicles nearby were destroyed. Humvees exploded. Bradley fighting vehicles burned, but the Abrams tanks held steady. The plasma bolts left glowing marks on their armor. Some of the reactive armor blocks exploded when hit, dispersing the energy. The thick composite armor underneath stayed intact. Target those walkers. Command ordered. Load sub-out. Take them down. Sarah's crew worked quickly. Martinez loaded another depleted uranium sabot round. Davis aimed carefully at the nearest walker. It was big. It was scary looking. But it was also a target, identified. Davis called, fire! The main gun bucked. The sabot round crossed the distance in a heartbeat. It hit the walker in its center mass, where the body connected to the legs. The round punched clean through. The walker staggered. Sparks flew from the hole. Then it collapsed in a heap of twisted metal. Target destroyed. Davis shouted. Around them, other Abrams tanks fired. One by one, the massive walkers fell. Their armor was strong, but it was designed to stop energy weapons. The kinetic energy of a depleted uranium dart moving at a mile per second was something else entirely. The physics were brutal and simple. Heavy metal plus incredible speed equals massive penetration. Within 5 minutes, all 10 walkers were destroyed. The battlefield was littered with burning alien machines. The Zetharian soldiers began retreating again. They ran back to their dropships, leaving their dead and wounded behind. Vex stared at the tactical display. 2 attacks, 2 defeats. He had lost thousands of soldiers, dozens of vehicles, 10 heavy walkers, and the humans. Their casualties were light. Very light, Commander, his second officer said quietly. Perhaps we should request reinforcements. Perhaps we should wait and plan more carefully, Vex wanted to argue. He wanted to say they could still win. But the evidence was clear. These humans and their primitive metal boxes were far more dangerous than anyone had thought. Send the request, Vex finally said. Tell High Command we need more ships, more soldiers, more everything. These humans, they know how to fight. On the ground, Sarah's crew worked to reload and refuel their tank. They were exhausted but alive. They had held their ground twice. But Sarah knew the aliens would come back. They would come back with more forces, more weapons. Eventually, they might find a way to win, unless the humans found a way to win first. General Martinez stood in the command center, studying satellite images of the alien fleet in orbit. 3 days had passed since the last alien attack. The aliens were regrouping. Intelligence showed more ships arriving. The Zetharian Empire was preparing for a massive assault. "They will come with everything they have," Martinez said to his staff. "They will try to overwhelm us with numbers." "How many more ships, sir?" a colonel asked. "At least 50 more warships, maybe 100,000 more soldiers. They are bringing their full battle fleet." The room went quiet. Everyone knew what that meant. Earth's forces were good. The Abrams tanks had proven themselves. But there were limits. Eventually, sheer numbers would win. "So we do not let them land," Martinez said. He pointed at the satellite image. "The alien fleet is concentrating here, in low orbit over the Pacific. They think they are safe up there. They think we cannot touch them." "Sir, we do not have enough anti-orbital weapons," another officer said. "Our missiles cannot reach them all." Martinez smiled. "That is why we are not going to shoot them down. We are going to go up there and kill them." The officers looked confused. One brave major spoke up. "Sir, with respect, we do not have a space fleet. We have aircraft and ships on the ocean, but nothing that can fight in orbit." "Not yet," Martinez said. "But we have something better. We have Lieutenant Commander Wilson and her very special project." A woman in a Navy uniform stepped forward. She was young, maybe 30, with short black hair and sharp eyes. She put a data chip into the projector. New images appeared on the screen. "This is Project Orbital Strike," Wilson explained. "We have been working on it for 5 years. We took 3 heavy cargo shuttles and modified them. They can reach orbit. They can carry cargo. And most importantly, they can carry specially modified Abrams tanks." Everyone stared at the images. The shuttles were huge, much larger than normal space vehicles. In the cargo bay of each shuttle were 2 Abrams tanks. But these were not normal tanks. They had been modified with special equipment. The tanks have been fitted with magnetic clamps for zero gravity. Wilson continued. They have compressed air thrusters for maneuvering in space. Their guns work fine in vacuum, and their armor is perfect for space combat. No air to carry explosive force, just kinetic impacts, which is exactly what the aliens use too. "You want to send tanks into space to fight a fleet?" the colonel asked. He sounded amazed. "Not just fight," Martinez said. "We are going to board their ships. The tanks will blast through their hulls. Then our Marines will go inside and take the ships. We will turn their own fleet against them." It was crazy. It was impossible. It was the most insane military plan anyone had ever heard, which is exactly why it might work. The aliens would never expect it. 6 hours later, Captain Sarah Chen sat in her Abrams tank inside the cargo shuttle. Her crew was strapped in tight. 5 other Abrams tanks were loaded into 2 other shuttles. Behind them, 300 Marines in powered armor waited in troop carriers. "All crews, this is command." General Martinez's voice came over the radio. "The aliens think they own the high ground. Today we are going to show them they are wrong. Today we are taking the fight to them. Good luck and good hunting." The shuttle engines roared to life. Sarah felt the acceleration push her back into her seat. The massive shuttle lifted off from Cape Canaveral and climbed into the sky. The G-forces were intense. Sarah's crew said nothing. They were all focused on the mission ahead. After 8 minutes, they reached orbit. Through her screens, Sarah could see the curve of Earth below. And ahead, she could see the alien fleet. Dozens of ships hanging in the black. They looked peaceful, quiet. That was about to change. "All tank units prepare for deployment." Wilson's voice crackled over the radio. "Opening cargo bay doors in 30 seconds. Sarah felt her stomach drop as the shuttle bay doors opened. Cold space surrounded her tank. The magnetic clamps released. Compressed air thrusters fired, pushing the tank out into the void. For a moment, Sarah just floated there. Her 70-ton tank drifted in space like a leaf on a pond. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "All units thrusters check," Sarah ordered. Her crew tested the controls. The small jets of compressed air fired. The tank could turn. It could move forward and back. Not quickly, not gracefully, but it could move. "Target the flagship," Command ordered. "That is Vex's ship. Take it." Sarah's gunner, Davis, aimed at the massive alien vessel. It was 300 yards away, an easy shot even in space. The tank's laser rangefinder worked perfectly in vacuum. Locked on, Davis reported. Fire. The main gun fired. In space there was no sound, no boom. Just a flash from the muzzle and recoil that pushed the tank backward. But the sabot round flew true. It crossed the distance in less than a second. It hit the alien ship's hull with tremendous force. The armor on the alien ship was strong. It was designed to stop energy weapons and small missiles, but it was not designed to stop a depleted uranium dart moving at a mile per second. The sabot punched through the hull like paper. Air and debris exploded from the hole. Hit, Davis yelled. Hull breach confirmed. All 6 Abrams tanks fired at once. 6 more holes appeared in the alien ships. The aliens had not expected this. They had not prepared for this. Their ships began firing back, but their weapons were designed for ship-to-ship combat. The tanks were too small and too fast for the big guns to track. Sarah fired again. And again. Each shot punched a new hole in the flagship. She could see alien soldiers being sucked out into space through the breaches. Emergency doors were closing inside the ship, but it was chaos. Marines, go. Command ordered. The Marine assault carriers fired their engines. They rushed toward the holes the tanks had created. Marines in powered armor jumped from the carriers and entered the breached ships. They carried plasma cutters and assault rifles. They were going to capture these ships from the inside. Commander Vex felt his ship shake as another round punched through the hull. Alarms screamed everywhere. His crew was panicking. Human soldiers were inside his ship. Humans, in space, fighting his elite guards. How are they doing this? Vex shouted. How are humans fighting in space? Commander, they are using their tanks, an officer reported. Those metal boxes are shooting us from space. Vex ran to a viewport and looked out. He saw it, an Abrams tank floating in the vacuum. As he watched, its main gun fired. The shell hit another Zetharian ship. The ship's hull exploded outward. It was impossible. Tanks did not work in space. Everyone knew that. Except these humans had made it work anyway. They had taken their primitive metal boxes and turned them into orbital weapons. Retreat, Vex ordered. All ships break orbit. We cannot fight like this. But it was too late. The Marines had taken the engine rooms on 3 ships. The tanks kept firing. More hulls were breached. More ships were boarded. The Zetharian fleet was falling apart. Within 2 hours it was over. 15 alien ships had been captured. 20 more had fled to deep space. The rest were destroyed. The Marines planted American flags on the captured ships. Sarah Chen's tank floated among the wreckage. Her crew was silent. They had just fought a battle in space in a tank. It was the most insane thing any of them had ever done. Good work, Captain, General Martinez said over the radio. You and your crews just changed warfare forever. Tank crews fighting in space. No one will ever forget this. Sarah looked at Earth below. Home. They had defended it. They had won. The aliens had mocked human weapons. They had laughed at the Abrams tanks. They were not laughing anymore. Commander Vex sat alone in his quarters aboard the escape ship. His fleet was destroyed. His soldiers were dead or captured. His career was over. But worse than all of that was the knowledge that kept eating at him. He had been wrong, completely utterly wrong. The door opened. High Commander Zara entered. She was the leader of all Zetharian military forces. Her face was unreadable as she sat across from Vex. Tell me what happened, Zara said. Tell me how a primitive species with chemical weapons defeated our best fleet. Vex took a deep breath. We underestimated them, High Commander. We saw their technology and thought it was weak. We looked at their weapons and thought they were primitive. We were fools. Explain. The humans have been fighting wars on their planet for thousands of years, Vex said. Not small wars. Not simple conflicts. Real wars, brutal wars. They have fought each other with every weapon they could create. Their entire civilization has been shaped by warfare. Zara listened carefully. She had read the reports. She knew the basics. But she wanted to hear it from Vex. He had been there. He had seen it. Their tanks, Vex continued. We laughed at them. Metal boxes on tracks. Slow, loud, primitive. But those tanks were designed for one purpose, to survive and kill on a battlefield. They have armor that can stop almost anything. They have guns that can destroy anything they hit, and the humans who drive them have trained their entire lives to use them. Our technology is superior, Zara said. Is it? Vex asked. Our energy shields are amazing against energy weapons. But the humans do not use energy weapons. They use kinetic weapons. Simple physics. Heavy metal moving very fast. Our shields cannot stop that. Our armor cannot stop that, Zara frowned. We can adapt, can we? Vex stood up and walked to the window. Hi, Commander. Do you know what the humans did in their final attack? They put their tanks in space. They turned ground vehicles into orbital weapons. They did something that should be impossible. And it worked, because humans do not care about what should be possible. They only care about what works. Zara was quiet for a long moment. What are you saying, Commander? I am saying we cannot conquer Earth, not without losing everything. The humans will fight for every city, every town, every home, and they will make us pay in blood for every inch of ground. Even if we win, we will be so weak that our other enemies will destroy us. So you suggest we retreat? You suggest we show weakness? I suggest we negotiate, Vex said. We offer peace. We offer trade. We treat the humans as equals, not as prey. Zara stood up. Her face was hard. The Empire does not negotiate with primitives. They are not primitives, High Commander. That is what I am trying to tell you. They are warriors. Maybe the best warriors in the galaxy. And if we try to fight them, we will lose. 3 days later, a message was sent from the Zetharian fleet to Earth. It was brief and formal. The Empire requested a meeting to discuss terms. General Martinez received the message with satisfaction. He had known this would come. The aliens had learned their lesson. The meeting took place on neutral ground, a space station between Earth and Mars. High Commander Zara arrived with a small guard. General Martinez came with his staff and Captain Sarah Chen. He had insisted Sarah be there. She had earned it. Zara looked at the humans carefully. They did not look impressive. No natural armor. No claws, no fangs. Just soft creatures in simple uniforms. But she had read the battle reports. She had seen what they could do. We came to conquer, Zara said without preamble. We were wrong to try. We offer peace, Martinez nodded. We accept your offer of peace, but with conditions. Name them. First, all human prisoners are returned immediately. Second, you will pay reparations for the damage done to our cities. Third, you will share your medical technology with us. We will share our agricultural technology with you. Fair trade? Zara thought about arguing, but she knew she had no leverage. The humans had won. Agreed. Fourth, Martinez continued, you will introduce us to the Galactic community. You will sponsor our membership. You will tell everyone what happened here. This made Zara pause. You want us to tell everyone we were defeated? Yes, Martinez said. We want everyone to know that Earth is not to be attacked. We want everyone to know that humans can defend themselves. This prevents future wars. It was smart, Zara realized. If everyone knew the truth, no one else would try to conquer Earth. The humans would be safe. And the Zetharian Empire would avoid the shame of a long, costly war. Very well, Zara said. We agree to all terms. They signed the treaty. Humans and Zetharians, former enemies becoming something close to allies. It was not friendship, not yet. But it was a start. After the signing, Zara approached Sarah. She looked at the young tank commander with curiosity. You are the one who fought in space, Zara said. In a tank, Sarah nodded. Yes, ma'am. I do not understand how you did it. Tanks are not designed for space, Sarah smiled. Tanks are not designed for a lot of things, but we make them work anyway. That is what humans do. We take what we have and we make it work. Zara nodded slowly. I am beginning to understand that. 6 months later, Earth joined the Galactic Council. Humans began to explore the stars in their own ships. They brought their technology with them, their tanks, their guns, their way of warfare. Other species watched with interest and some fear. The Abrams tanks became famous across the galaxy. Every military academy studied the Battle of Earth. They studied how simple kinetic weapons had defeated advanced energy shields. They studied human tactics. They studied human determination. Some species tried to copy the human designs. They built their own tanks, their own kinetic weapons, but it was never quite the same. The humans had something others did not have. They had thousands of years of hard-earned experience in warfare. They knew how to fight. They knew how to win. Sarah Chen retired from active duty after 10 years. She became an instructor at the new orbital combat school. She taught young soldiers from dozens of different species how to fight in space. She taught them about armor, about tactics, about never giving up. On the last day of each class, she always told them the same story. She told them about the day the Zetharian Empire came to Earth. She told them how the aliens had laughed at human weapons. She told them how those same weapons had defeated the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. The lesson is simple, Sarah would tell her students. Never judge a weapon by how it looks. Never judge a warrior by their species. Judge them by what they can do. Judge them by their will to fight. The Zetharians learned that lesson the hard way. Do not make the same mistake. Her students always listened carefully. They knew she was right. The whole galaxy knew she was right. Commander Vex never returned to military service. He became a diplomat instead. He spent his time building relationships between the Zetharian Empire and Earth. He made sure no one forgot what had happened. He made sure no one ever attacked Earth again. Sometimes, late at night, he would look at images of the battle. He would see those Abrams tanks sitting on the battlefield firing again and again. He would see them floating in space, punching holes in starships. And he would remember the lesson he had learned. Never underestimate humans. Never mock their weapons. And never, ever get in front of an Abrams tank. The war was over. Peace had come. But everyone knew the truth now. Earth was defended, humanity was strong, and those metal boxes on tracks, they were not primitive. They were not weak. They were the reason the Zetharian Empire had learned to respect humanity. The galaxy would never forget the Battle of Earth, and they would never forget the armored fury that had turned the tide. The Abrams tanks had proven their worth. They had shown the galaxy what human engineering and human courage could accomplish. And that was a lesson the galaxy would remember for a very long time. High Coordinator Thesara looked at the holographic display with growing fear. Red dots covered the star map, each one showing a world that no longer existed. The Devourers had come from beyond the galaxy's edge, and nothing could stop them. The creatures were not alive in any way the Zalani understood life. They were machines, but machines that could think and learn and grow. Each time the Zalani tried to fight them, the metal beasts adapted. Weapons that worked once never worked again. How many ships do we have left? Thesra asked her aide, a young Zalani named Corvin whose scales had turned pale blue with stress. 43 battle cruisers, my lady. 112 support vessels. Corvin's voice shook as he spoke. The Devourers destroyed our shipyards at Veltar yesterday. They are learning our ship designs faster than we can build new ones. Thesara closed her large, dark eyes. The Zalani had ruled this part of space for 3,000 years. They were a peaceful people who loved art, music, and the beauty of the stars. War was something they read about in old histories, not something they lived through. The door to the command chamber opened and General Valix walked in. His normally bright green scales looked dull and his tall frame seemed bent with exhaustion. The outer colonies are gone, he said without greeting. The Devourers consumed everything, not just the people or the buildings. They took apart the planets themselves piece by piece to build more of their kind. Thesara felt her heart sink. The Zalani had two hearts, and right now both of them felt like they were breaking. What about the Galactic Peace Alliance? Did they respond to our calls for help? General Valix shook his head. The hegemony says they are considering our request. The Altarian Republic wants to send negotiators to talk with the Devourers. The Crystal Worlds say this is outside their territory. Talk with them? Thesara could not believe what she was hearing. These things destroy everything they touch. There is no talking with them. She walked to the great window that looked out into space. Far away, she could see the lights of Devourer ships moving toward their current position. Soon they would have to run again. They had been running for months. My lady, Corvin said quietly, there is one more option. Thesara turned to look at him. What option? The ancient emergency beacon. The one from the old archives. It was designed to send a distress call to any ship in the galaxy that could receive it. General Valix frowned. That system is thousands of years old. We do not even know if it still works. It is better than doing nothing, Thesara said. She was desperate now. Her people were dying, and no one in the civilized galaxy seemed willing to help them. Activate it. Send a message to anyone who will listen. Corvin's fingers moved quickly over the control panel. The beacon was buried deep in the ship's systems, a relic from a time when the galaxy was younger and more dangerous. As he worked, warning lights began flashing. My lady, the beacon is very powerful, but I cannot control where the signal goes. It will broadcast in all directions. Send it everywhere, Thesara said. Tell them we are the Zalani Confederation. Tell them we face extinction. Tell them we need help immediately. The beacon activated with a deep thrumming sound that shook the entire ship. Energy poured out from their vessel, carrying Thesara's desperate message across the galaxy. The signal was strong enough to reach the farthest stars, but it was also old and unpredictable. Unknown to the Zilani, their message was racing toward a part of space they had never explored. The galactic charts marked that region as empty, lifeless. It was so far from the civilized worlds that most people forgot it existed. The signal traveled for days, growing weaker, but still carrying its urgent plea. It passed by dead worlds and empty space until finally it reached a small blue planet orbiting a yellow star. The planet was marked in the old charts as a Class Thothene death world, a place so dangerous that nothing intelligent could possibly live there. The signal was caught by a collection of radio telescopes in a place called New Mexico. Dr. Sarah, Chen was working the night shift when her computer started screaming with alerts. "That's impossible," she whispered as she looked at the data streaming across her screens. The signal was clearly artificial, clearly intelligent, and clearly not from Earth. Sarah called her supervisor, then her supervisor called his supervisor, and soon phones were ringing in government buildings around the world. The message was translated within hours. It spoke of a peaceful people facing extinction from machines that could not be stopped. But there was something else in the signal, something that made the humans sit up and take notice. The message included detailed information about these devourers, technical specifications that showed exactly what kind of enemy the Zilani were fighting. To the Zilani, the devourers were an unstoppable force that adapted to any weapon. To the humans reading the reports, they looked like a challenging engineering problem. Within 24 hours, emergency meetings were being held in every major capital on Earth. Presidents and prime ministers who had been enemies for decades suddenly found themselves working together. The message from space had united humanity in a way that nothing else ever had. "These aliens are getting wiped out," said General Morrison, pointing at the holographic display showing Devourer tactical data. "Their weapons are too sophisticated. These machines are learning to counter high-tech energy weapons and adaptive shields." "What do you suggest?" asked President Zhang. General Morrison smiled grimly. "We hit them with stuff they've never seen before. Kinetic weapons, nuclear warheads, good old-fashioned explosives. Let's see how well they adapt to a chunk of tungsten moving at 20% of light speed." The decision was made quickly. Humanity would respond to the alien distress call with everything they had. It would be the largest military operation in human history, and possibly the last if they failed. Shipyards that had been building cargo vessels were retooled to construct warships. Weapons that had been designed to fight other humans were modified to work in space. Scientists who had spent their careers studying peaceful applications of technology suddenly found themselves designing instruments of war. The human fleet began gathering at the edge of the solar system. 500 ships, each one designed by a species that had learned to fight before they learned to walk upright. The ships were ugly compared to the elegant vessels of the galactic civilization, but they were built for one purpose: winning wars. Admiral Marcus Rivera stood on the bridge of the flagship UES Retribution and looked out at the assembled fleet. Behind him, Earth continued its preparations for war. Factories worked around the clock. Soldiers trained for combat in zero gravity. Scientists developed new weapons based on the technical data the Zilani had unknowingly provided. "Sir," his communications officer said, "we've received confirmation from all fleet commanders. We're ready to depart." Rivera nodded. Somewhere across the galaxy, an alien species was dying because they had never learned how to fight a real war. They were about to discover that humans had never learned how to fight any other kind. "Take us out," Rivera ordered. "It's time to show the galaxy what a Death World species can do." The human fleet engaged their faster-than-light drives and disappeared into the darkness between stars, racing toward a destiny that would change the galaxy forever. Admiral Marcus Rivera walked slowly through the command deck of the UES Retribution, looking at the faces of his crew. They were young and old, men and women from every nation on Earth. 3 months ago, these people had been enemies. Now they worked together like they had trained their whole lives for this moment. "Admiral," called Captain Sarah Kim from the tactical station, "we're receiving final reports from all fleet commanders. The Chinese battle group is ready. The European fleet is in position. The African Union ships have completed their weapon checks." Rivera nodded and moved to the main display screen. 500 human warships filled the view, stretched across several million kilometers of space. Each ship was different, built by different nations with different ideas about how to fight wars. But they all shared one thing: they were designed by humans, and humans had been perfecting the art of killing each other for thousands of years. "Sir," said Lieutenant Commander Johnson, the fleet's intelligence officer, "we've finished analyzing the alien data. The Zilani have been fighting these devourers for 8 months. They've lost 90% of their territory." Rivera studied the tactical information on his screen. The devourers were impressive machines, able to learn from each battle and adapt their defenses. They had started as simple constructs, but each encounter with Zilani weapons had made them smarter and stronger. "Their problem is that they're too civilized," Rivera said to his staff. "Look at these battle reports. The Zilani try to minimize casualties. They retreat when they start taking heavy losses. They use precise weapons that target specific systems." "Sir?" Captain Kim looked confused. "They're fighting like they expect their enemy to surrender," Rivera explained. "These machines don't surrender. They don't get tired. They don't feel fear. The only way to stop them is to destroy every single one." Colonel Martinez from the Marine Division stepped forward. "Admiral, I've been studying the Zilani ship designs. They're beautiful, but they're not built for war. Their ships are made for exploration and trade. Their weapons are designed to disable, not destroy." Rivera understood. Humanity had never had that luxury. Earth was a planet where everything tried to kill you, from the weather to the animals to other humans. Every human weapon was designed with one goal: making the enemy completely unable to fight back. "Dr. Patel," Rivera called to the science officer, "what's your assessment of Devourer technology?" Dr. Patel pulled up a holographic display showing the enemy machines. "They're adaptive, sir, but in a limited way. They learn to counter energy weapons by developing better shields. They learn to avoid kinetic weapons by improving their movement patterns. But their learning is based on previous encounters. And we're about to give them encounters they've never had before," Rivera said with a grim smile. The communication system crackled to life. "Admiral Rivera, this is General Thompson at Fleet Command. You are authorized to engage the enemy with extreme prejudice. Rules of engagement are simple. Save the aliens, destroy everything else." "Understood, Command," Rivera replied. "What about communication with the Zilani?" "Negative. Go in dark and assess the situation first. We don't know how these aliens will react to meeting humans. For all we know, they might think we're another enemy species." Rivera could understand that concern. Humans didn't look like the peaceful aliens in science fiction movies. They were predators, with forward-facing eyes and teeth designed for tearing meat. Their ships reflected this nature: angular, armored, covered with weapon systems. "All ships, this is Admiral Rivera," he announced over the fleet communication channel. "In 6 hours we will engage an enemy that has destroyed worlds and killed billions of aliens. These devourers have adapted to fight a civilized enemy. They have never fought humans." He paused, looking out at the fleet assembled around him. Ships from nations that had been at war just years before now flew in formation, united by a common purpose. "Remember, we are not just fighting for Earth anymore. We are fighting for an alien species that called for help. We are fighting to show the galaxy what humanity can do when we work together. Every ship in this fleet represents the best of human technology and human spirit." Captain Kim brought up the navigation display. "Sir, we have the coordinates of the Zilani distress signal. The journey will take us 3 days at maximum jump speed. Dr. Okafor," Rivera called to the xenobiology expert, "what should we expect from the aliens?" Dr. Okafor consulted her tablet. "Based on their transmission patterns and language structure, the Zilani appear to be a peaceful species. They use polite forms of communication even in their military channels. Their ship design suggests they value beauty and efficiency over pure function. And the Devourers? Pure machine intelligence, sir. No emotions, no fear, no mercy. They exist only to consume and replicate." "But, sir?" Dr. Okafor looked up from her tablet. "I think they've made a mistake." "How so?" "They've learned to fight Zilani, who try to minimize damage and avoid civilian casualties. They've learned to fight an enemy that retreats when losses become too high. They've never fought an enemy that will sacrifice everything to win." Rivera understood. The Devourers had adapted to fight a civilized species. They were about to encounter humans who had crawled out of the most dangerous planet in the galaxy and learned to survive by being more dangerous than anything else. "Admiral," called the navigation officer, All ships report ready for jump. Rivera took one last look at Earth through the main viewer. The blue planet looked peaceful from this distance, but he knew better. That beautiful world had shaped humanity into the perfect enemy for the Devourers. Intelligent, adaptable, and absolutely ruthless when threatened. Fleet Command, this is Admiral Rivera. Human fleet departing for alien space. We will make contact in 72 hours. Godspeed, Admiral. Bring our new alien friends home safe. Rivera smiled. The Zilani had called for help from the civilized galaxy and been ignored. They had accidentally called for help from the uncivilized part of the galaxy instead. They were about to learn the difference. All ships engage jump drives. Maximum speed to the rally point. Let's go save some aliens. The human fleet disappeared into hyperspace. 500 warships carrying the hopes of two species toward a confrontation that would reshape the galaxy. Behind them, Earth continued its preparations for a war that might determine the survival of all intelligent life. In the deep space monitoring stations, scientists watched the readings from the alien distress signal. It was getting weaker, which meant the Zilani were losing their fight. The humans would arrive just in time, or they would arrive to find only machines feeding on the remains of a dead civilization. Either way, the Devourers were about to meet an enemy unlike anything they had ever encountered. A species that had learned to fight wars of extinction and win them. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Thessera system like thunder, breaking across a quiet sky. Admiral Rivera stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching as his sensors painted a picture of the battle happening near the system's inner planets. "My God," whispered Captain Kim, staring at the tactical display. "There are thousands of them." The Devourer fleet filled the space around the fourth planet like a swarm of angry insects. Each machine was the size of a human destroyer, black metal shapes that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. They moved in perfect coordination, flowing around the defending Zilani ships like water around rocks. "Sir," called Lieutenant Torres from the sensor station, "I'm reading 47 Zilani vessels. They're retreating toward the inner system, but the Devourers are cutting off their escape routes." Rivera watched the battle unfold on his screens. The Zilani ships were beautiful, their hulls made of what looked like living crystal that caught and refracted the light of the local star. They moved with grace like dancers performing in the void of space, but they were losing. "Admiral," Dr. Patel said from her science station, "the Zilani weapons are having minimal effect. They're using some kind of energy beam that's designed to disable rather than destroy. The Devourers adapt to each hit and become more resistant. And the Devourer weapons? Devastating, sir. They're using focused gravity waves that tear ships apart at the molecular level. Very efficient, very deadly." Rivera nodded grimly. The Zilani were fighting a civilized war against an enemy that didn't understand civilization. It was like bringing a sword to a gunfight, except the enemy kept getting better at avoiding swords. "Fleet positions?" he asked. "All ships in formation, sir," Captain Kim reported. "We're currently 2 million kilometers from the battle zone. The enemy hasn't detected us yet." Rivera looked at the display showing both fleets. The Zilani ships were elegant and graceful, moving like living things through space. The Devourer ships were angular and efficient, looking like tools designed for a single purpose. And the human ships looked like exactly what they were, weapons built by a species that had learned to fight before they learned to fly. They were covered in armor plating, bristling with weapon systems designed to take punishment and keep fighting. Next to the beautiful Zilani vessels, they looked crude and brutal. "Sir," called Commander Johnson from intelligence, "we're intercepting Zilani communications. The translation software is working, but the language is very formal, very polite. Even in the middle of a battle, they're using honorific titles and respectful greetings." "What are they saying?" "The fleet commander is requesting permission to retreat to the third planet. She's apologizing for the casualties and asking for forgiveness from her crew for leading them into danger." Rivera shook his head. These aliens were too civilized for their own good. In the middle of a fight for survival, they were still being polite to each other. "Admiral," Dr. Okafor said urgently, "the Devourers are moving to surround the Zilani fleet. If they complete that maneuver, the aliens will be trapped." Rivera had seen enough. "All ships, this is Admiral Rivera. Target the Devourer fleet only. I repeat, engage only the black ships. The crystal ships are friendlies. Weapons free." The human fleet opened fire. Railguns mounted on the heavy cruisers hurled tungsten projectiles at 20% of light speed. Nuclear-tipped missiles streaked across the void, their drives burning bright against the darkness of space. Particle beam weapons designed to crack asteroids lanced out with deadly precision. The effect on the Devourer fleet was immediate and devastating. Ships that had adapted to resist Zilani energy weapons found themselves facing solid metal, traveling at relativistic speeds. Their advanced shields, designed to deflect coherent energy, were useless against simple kinetic force. The first volley from the human fleet destroyed 30 Devourer ships outright. The machines tried to adapt, changing their formation and adjusting their defensive systems. But the humans were already firing again with different weapons. Target destroyed, Captain Kim announced as another group of Devourers vanished in nuclear fire. Sir, they're trying to adapt to our weapons, but we're using too many different types. Every time they adjust to one system, we hit them with something else. Rivera smiled. This was exactly what humans were good at, overwhelming an enemy with variety and volume. The Zilani fought with elegant precision. The Devourers fought with adaptive efficiency. Humans fought with chaos and overwhelming force. On the Zilani flagship, High Coordinator Thessera watched in shock as the unknown fleet tore through the Devourers like paper. Her aide, Corvin, stared at the tactical display with his mouth open. "Who are they?" Corvin whispered. "Those ships. They don't match any known design in the Galactic database." Thessera studied the new arrivals. Their ships were ugly by Zilani standards, all sharp angles and rough surfaces. But they were destroying the Devourers with frightening efficiency. Each human vessel seemed to carry more weapons than an entire Zilani battle group. "Admiral," her fleet commander reported, "the unknown ships are using projectile weapons and nuclear devices. I've never seen anything like it. They're fighting like barbarians. Effective barbarians," Thessera corrected. "Patch me through to their fleet commander." It took several minutes to establish communication. The unknown ships were using primitive radio signals instead of the elegant quantum entanglement channels that civilized species preferred. When the connection finally opened, Thessera found herself looking at the bridge of an alien ship. The creatures on the screen were bipedal, roughly the same size as Zilani, but there the similarities ended. They had forward-facing eyes like predators, and their teeth were clearly designed for eating meat. Their skin came in different colors, and they had hair growing from their heads in various patterns. The one who seemed to be in command stepped forward. He was wearing what looked like military armor, and his face bore several scars. When he spoke, his voice was deep and rough. "This is Admiral Rivera of the Human Federation Fleet. We received your distress signal. Are you the Zilani?" Thessera struggled to find words. These beings looked like something from a nightmare, but they had just saved her people. "Yes, I am High Coordinator Thessera of the Zilani Confederation. We sent a call for help to the Galactic Peace Alliance." "Never heard of them," Rivera said bluntly. "We got your message on Earth, figured you could use some help." "Earth?" Thessera felt her heart skip a beat. "But that's in the Death World sector. Nothing civilized can live there." She saw what might have been a smile cross the alien's scarred face. "Well, that depends on your definition of civilized. Right now, we need to finish cleaning up these Devourers. Can your ship stay clear while we work?" Thessera looked at her tactical display. The human fleet was systematically destroying the remaining Devourers with methods that seemed completely insane by galactic standards. They were using nuclear weapons in space, firing solid projectiles at incredible speeds, and employing tactics that no civilized species would ever consider. But it was working. For the first time in months, the Devourers were losing. "Yes," Thessera said quietly. "We will remain clear and—" "Thank you." The transmission ended and Thessera slumped in her command chair. Her people were safe, saved by creatures from a world so dangerous that the galaxy had written it off as uninhabitable. She wondered what other surprises these humans might bring to the civilized galaxy. On the human flagship, Admiral Rivera watched as the last Devourer ship exploded under concentrated fire from 3 heavy cruisers. "Sir," Captain Kim reported, "all enemy contacts destroyed. No human casualties. The Zilani fleet is safe." Rivera nodded. The first battle was over, but he suspected this was just the beginning. The galaxy was about to learn that the most dangerous predators in the universe had just left their planet for the first time, and they were very good at making friends. 3 hours after the battle ended, Admiral Rivera stood in the conference room aboard the UES Prometheus, humanity's first diplomatic vessel. Across from him sat Dr. Elena Vasquez, Earth's leading expert on xenolinguistics, and Captain James Foster, who had volunteered to lead the first contact mission. "Admiral," Dr. Vasquez said, reviewing her tablet. "We've been monitoring Zilani communications since the battle. Their language is fascinating. They use formal honorifics even in casual conversation, and they seem to apologize for everything." "That matches what we observed during the fighting," Rivera replied. "They were asking permission to retreat and apologizing to their own crews for being in danger. These are not a warrior people." Captain Foster looked out the viewport at the Zilani fleet. The crystal ships hung in space like beautiful sculptures, their hulls catching and reflecting the light from the system's star. "Sir, how do we approach this?" "Standard first contact protocols assume we're meeting an unknown species. These aliens already know we exist. And they think we come from a planet that should be uninhabitable," Rivera added. "According to their databases, Earth is classified as a Class 2 death world. That's the highest danger rating in their system." Dr. Vasquez looked up from her translation work. "Sir, I've been analyzing their reaction to our weapons. The Zilani seem genuinely shocked that we use nuclear devices and kinetic projectiles. Their own weapons are designed to disable enemy ships without killing the crews." "Even against machines?" "Apparently so. Their entire military doctrine is based on the idea that warfare should be as humane as possible. They literally cannot understand why we would build weapons designed to completely destroy an enemy." Rivera sat down heavily in his chair. These aliens were so civilized that they fought wars politely. No wonder they were losing to the Devourers. "Dr. Vasquez, can you establish communication with their flagship?" "Yes, sir. I've created a basic translation protocol. It's not perfect, but it should allow for simple conversation." "Do it. Captain Foster, you're with me. Let's go meet our new alien friends." The view screen activated, showing the bridge of the Zilani flagship. High Coordinator Thesara sat in an elegant chair that seemed to be grown rather than built. Her skin was covered in small iridescent scales that shifted from blue to green in the light. Her large dark eyes showed intelligence and curiosity, but also fear. "Greetings, High Coordinator," Rivera said, trying to keep his voice gentle. "I am Admiral Marcus Rivera, commander of the Human Rescue Fleet. This is Captain Foster and Dr. Vasquez." Thesara inclined her head in what was clearly a formal bow. "Honored Admiral Rivera, I am deeply grateful for your assistance. May I ask, are you truly from the world called Earth?" "We are," Rivera confirmed. "We received your distress signal 3 days ago. We came as quickly as we could, but Earth is—" Thesara paused, clearly struggling with the concept. "Our records show that Earth is a Class 2 death world. The atmospheric composition alone should be lethal to intelligent life. The gravity is too strong, the radiation levels too high, the weather patterns too violent." Dr. Vasquez leaned forward. "High Coordinator, perhaps we have different ideas about what makes a world habitable. Could you tell us about your homeworld?"
"Zilanos is a garden world," Thesara replied.
"Stable climate, gentle weather, peaceful wildlife. The most dangerous creature on our planet is the grass tiger, and it only weighs 30 kilograms. Captain Foster tried not to smile. On Earth, a 30-kilogram predator would barely qualify as a large dog. "High Coordinator, the largest predator on Earth weighs over 500 kilograms and can run at 60 kilometers per hour." Thesara's scales turned pale. That is impossible. No intelligent species could evolve alongside such monsters." "Actually," Dr. Vasquez said, "we think growing up with those monsters is what made us intelligent. We had to learn to cooperate and use tools just to survive." Rivera decided to change the subject before they scared the aliens too badly. "High Coordinator, we need to discuss the Devourer threat. Our intelligence suggests this was just one fleet. There may be more." "You are correct, Admiral," Thesara said, her scales returning to their normal blue-green color. "Our scouts report at least 12 more Devourer fleets moving through this sector. They have consumed 17 of our worlds and show no signs of slowing down. Have you contacted other species for help? We sent requests to the Galactic Peace Alliance, the Hegemony, and the Crystal Worlds Federation. They all promised to consider our situation, but none have sent military aid." Captain Foster frowned. "Why not?" "Because warfare on this scale has not occurred in our region of space for over 2,000 years, Thesara explained. "Most civilized species have limited military capabilities. We are primarily explorers, traders, and artists. What about the species that do have military forces? The warrior races exist, but they are considered barbaric by galactic standards. Most civilized worlds refuse to associate with them. Rivera was beginning to understand the problem. The galaxy had become so peaceful that it had forgotten how to fight real wars. When a genuine threat appeared, they had no idea how to respond. "High Coordinator," he said, "we would like to establish formal diplomatic relations between humanity and the Zilani Confederation. We are willing to help you fight the Devourers, but we need to understand the full scope of the threat." "I would welcome such an alliance," the Sarah replied. "But I must warn you, Admiral, the galactic community will not understand your methods. The way you destroyed the Devourer fleet, it was effective, but it was also terrifying." "Terrifying how?" "You used nuclear weapons as standard armament. You fired projectiles that could destroy planets. Your tactics showed no concern for minimizing casualties or preserving enemy equipment for study. By galactic standards, your warfare methods are considered barbaric." Dr. Vasquez looked at Rivera. This was going to be a problem. Humanity would be seen as savage by the very people they were trying to help. "High Coordinator," Rivera said carefully, "we understand that our methods may seem extreme, but we come from a world where survival requires extreme measures. We have learned that sometimes the only way to preserve life is to be willing to take it." "I am beginning to understand this," the Sarah replied, "but you should know that your arrival will change everything. The galaxy has been peaceful because it has been weak. If humanity joins the galactic community, that peace may end." "Not necessarily," Captain Foster said. "On Earth, we've learned that peace is only possible when good people are strong enough to protect it from those who would destroy it." The Sarah considered this. "You believe that strength prevents war rather than causing it?" "When the strong protect the weak, yes," Rivera said. "We're not conquerors, High Coordinator. We're protectors, but we protect by being more dangerous than the things that threaten innocent people. The Devourers have never faced an enemy like humanity," Thessera mused. "They learned to counter sophisticated weapons and elegant tactics. But your weapons are not sophisticated. They are simply overwhelming." "Exactly," Dr. Vasquez said. "Humans learn to survive by being unpredictable and using overwhelming force. We're not smarter than these machines, but we're more chaotic." "I would like to propose an exchange," the Sarah said after a moment. "Human military advisors could help us develop more effective tactics. In return, we could share our technology and introduce you to the galactic community." "That sounds reasonable," Rivera agreed. "But first we need to deal with those other Devourer fleets. How many ships do you estimate they have in total?" "Our best intelligence suggests approximately 50,000 vessels." The human officers exchanged glances. That was a lot of ships even for Earth's military. "High Coordinator," Rivera said, "we're going to need reinforcements from Earth. And we're going to need to move fast before the Devourers adapt to our tactics." "I understand, Admiral. But I should warn you about something else." "What's that?" "The galactic community will want to meet with humanity. When they learn that a Death World species has developed interstellar travel and military technology, they will either want to study you or control you." Rivera smiled grimly. "Let them try. High Coordinator, humanity has been dealing with bullies for its entire history. The galaxy is about to learn what happens when you threaten people under human protection." The first diplomatic contact between humanity and the Zilani had gone better than anyone expected, but both species knew this was just the beginning of a relationship that would change the galaxy forever. 6 months after first contact, Admiral Rivera stood on the observation deck of Unity Station, the first joint human-Zilani facility ever built. Through the massive viewport, he could see ships from both species working together in space. Human engineers in bulky armor suits worked alongside Zilani technicians whose environmental suits looked more like works of art. "Admiral," said Captain Foster, approaching with a tablet full of reports, "the Galactic Council has finally agreed to meet with our delegation. They want to discuss humanity's role in the galaxy." Rivera nodded but didn't look away from the viewport. In the distance, a human heavy cruiser was being retrofitted with Zilani shield technology, while a Zilani science vessel received human armor plating. The two technologies shouldn't have worked together, but somehow they did. "Any word from the Devourer front?" "General Martinez reports complete success in the Veltar system. The machines tried to adapt to our new hybrid weapons, but they can't keep up with the rate of innovation. We're not just using human tactics anymore. We're using human creativity combined with Zilani precision." Rivera smiled. The partnership between the two species had exceeded everyone's expectations. Human military doctrine provided the aggressive strategies needed to defeat the Devourers, while Zilani technology offered elegant solutions to complex problems. Together they were unstoppable. The door to the observation deck opened and High Coordinator Thesara entered. Over the past months, she had become more than an alien ally. She was a friend. Her scales had brightened to a healthy blue-green, and she moved with confidence rather than the fear Rivera had first seen in her. "Admiral," she said, approaching the viewport, "I have interesting news from the council meeting." "Good news or bad news?" "Both," Thesara replied. "The good news is that they acknowledge humanity's right to exist and travel in galactic space. The bad news is that they want to place restrictions on human military technology." Captain Foster looked up from his tablet. "What kind of restrictions?" "They want humans to limit nuclear weapons to defensive use only. They want all human ships to carry Galactic Peace Authority observers. And they want humanity to agree to use only proportional force in military conflicts." Rivera turned away from the viewport. "In other words, they want us to fight like they do." "Essentially, yes," Thesara confirmed. "The Council is uncomfortable with human tactical methods. They believe that unrestricted human warfare could destabilize the entire galaxy." "They might be right," Foster said quietly. "We've developed weapons in the last 6 months that could crack planets. If we ever turned those weapons on populated worlds, we won't," Rivera said firmly. "Humans don't fight wars against civilians. We fight wars against enemies who threaten civilians." "I know that," Foster replied. "But the Council doesn't know that. To them, we look like barbarians with nuclear weapons." Thesara moved to stand beside Rivera at the viewport. "There is something else, Admiral. The Council has received reports from other sectors of the galaxy. It seems that humanity is not the only Death World species to achieve interstellar travel." Rivera felt a chill run down his spine. "What do you mean?" 3 other species from Class X or higher Death Worlds have made contact with the galactic community in the past year. The Council believes this is not a coincidence. "You think something is driving Death World species to develop space travel?" "I think," Thesara said carefully, "that the galaxy is changing. The age of peaceful exploration may be ending. Species that learn to survive on the most dangerous worlds are now reaching for the stars." Rivera considered this. If humanity wasn't alone among the Death World species, that changed everything. "Are these other species hostile?" "Unknown. The Council has classified all information about them. But Admiral, I think we need to prepare for the possibility that humanity may not be the most dangerous species in the galaxy." Captain Foster joined them at the viewport. "Sir, there's something else. Our deep space sensors have detected unusual activity beyond the galactic rim. Long-range probes suggest massive energy signatures moving in our direction." "Devourers?" "No, sir. These signatures are different, bigger, and they're not machine-based." Rivera felt pieces of a larger puzzle clicking into place. First, the Devourers had appeared from beyond the galaxy. Now, other unknown entities were approaching from the same direction, and Death World species were suddenly developing space travel across the galaxy. "Thesara," he said quietly, "I think your people's distress call may have done more than just bring humanity into space. I think it may have announced to something out there that the galaxy has intelligent life worth taking." Thesara's scales shifted to a worried pale blue. "You believe the Devourers were scouts?" "I believe the Devourers were the first wave," Rivera replied. "Something bigger is coming and somehow the galaxy knows it. That's why Death World species are suddenly reaching for space. Evolution is preparing the galaxy for war." The communication system crackled to life. "Admiral Rivera to the command center. Priority Alpha message from Earth Command." Rivera sighed. "This can't be good news." He turned to Foster and Thesara. "Come on, let's see what Earth wants." The command center was a fusion of human and Zilani design. Angular human computer systems were integrated with flowing Zilani interfaces, creating a workspace that was both functional and beautiful. Dr. Vasquez was waiting for them with a grim expression. "Admiral," she said without preamble, "Earth has been monitoring transmissions from the Galactic Council. They know about the restrictions the Council wants to place on humanity. And the President has sent a message. Humanity will not accept limitations on our defensive capabilities, especially if there are larger threats approaching the galaxy." Rivera had expected this response. Earth had spent its entire history fighting for survival. They weren't about to give up their weapons just to make aliens feel comfortable. "Dr. Vasquez," he said, Prepare a message for the Galactic Council. Tell them that humanity is willing to work within galactic law, but we will not disarm in the face of unknown threats. Sir, Captain Foster said, that's essentially a declaration of independence from galactic authority. Yes, it is, Rivera replied. Thesera, will the Zelani support us? Thesera considered for a moment. Admiral, 6 months ago my people were facing extinction. Today we are stronger than we have ever been. The Zelani Confederation will stand with humanity. Even if it means conflict with the Council abandoned us when we needed help, Thesera said firmly. Humanity came to our aid when no one else would. Our loyalty is clear. Dr. Vasquez was typing rapidly on her console. Admiral, I'm also receiving reports from our exploration fleets. We've made contact with 17 other species in the past month. Most of them are peaceful traders and researchers. But 3 have specifically requested military alliances with humanity. They want our protection? They want to learn how to fight, Dr. Vasquez clarified. Word is spreading about how humans defeated the Devourers. Species that have been defenseless for millennia are suddenly interested in military technology. Rivera looked around the command center, taking in the mixture of human and alien technology, the crew members from different worlds working together, the star charts showing new alliances forming across the galaxy. Thesera, he said, I think we're looking at the birth of a new galactic order. The age of peaceful exploration is ending. The age of defended civilization is beginning. And humanity will lead this new age? Humanity will protect this new age, Rivera corrected. We're not conquerors. We're guardians. But we're guardians who understand that sometimes the only way to protect peace is to be ready for war. The communication system activated again. Admiral, we're receiving a priority transmission from the Deep Space Monitoring Station. The unknown contacts beyond the galactic rim have changed course. They're heading directly for inhabited space. Rivera looked at Thesera, then at his human crew. How long until they arrive? Estimated time of arrival, 18 months. Then we have 18 months to prepare the galaxy for whatever's coming, Rivera said. Thesera, it looks like the real war is just beginning. Outside the viewport, human and Zelani ships continued their joint patrols, protecting a galaxy that was finally learning the difference between peace through weakness and peace through strength. The age of the Deathworlders had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. In the depths of space, something vast and hungry moved toward the lights of civilization, unaware that the soft, defenseless species it had expected to find had just gained some very dangerous protectors. The galaxy was about to discover what happened when you threatened people under human protection, and the universe was about to learn why Earth was classified as a death world.